this whole idea of transcending the duality, like this physical world is just all duality. It's up, down, good, bad, male, female, east, west, north, you know, all of.
Well, it helps you focus. In other words, if you don't know what you don't want, you can't know what you do want.
We also have the X. We have the 30-degree angles in which we do from the angling, which the arc we do. When we arc our angles, we bend, we break the rules, which is the free will. We don't exactly break it, because that would be saying I want peace of mind when you need peace with mind. It's about understanding the operating system.
We call that step one.
And step one, what is step one? That is the cross, what he just explained. So on the top of what Wayne Dyer has brought to the table is getting beyond the mind aspect and understanding how to be a loving human being in a world of duality. But he's leaving it, his legacy, he's bringing the football to the yard line, and we pick it up from there.
But causes you to ask, you just made a lifestyle out of it.
But when you...
A lifestyle of religion. And you can see this in the spiritual community. It's the next most dangerous religion there is, because it's all about memorization, what I know, and a battle.
When you step out of this, when I take my last breath and step out into the non-physical, there'll be no opposites. There's
contrast, but from this physical perspective, it would be indiscernible.
So this is probably the most important part right here. Indiscernible from our perspective, which is indiscernible from theirs. Okay, so understand something. From our perspective, paradoxically, this is how the communication works. In the X, we are the cross, we do the angles, and the X is how it's communicated to us. So when people are talking about spiritual line and all of this stuff, it doesn't work that way. It's paradoxical. There's a completely different perspective going on. And trying to communicate that with people who are like us in fear and having the intensities, this is that critical moment. It's indiscernible. So when we are in a position where we know what we're doing and we're sharing and we're questioning and we're moving in a direction to question each other and not make statements and talk over it and be in competition with each other on this side of the organic skin, it's the most vital aspect going on anywhere. Understand we are in this together, and we have to come together as human beings. First and foremost, we have to be patient with ourselves and with each other. Forgiveness, patience. I always wondered myself watching channelers and why they had to go into this trance and their eyes closed and everything. And I always felt like I had a connection, but I was going to be in a position where it was going to be a communication, but as a human being, not as a channeler, not as anything other than just a flat out run-of-the-mill, homegrown, barbecuing, whatever, shit kicking, this and that, okay? Mistake making. And this is the point. I didn't know for 5 years, but now I know what it means. Because they can't provide the perspective, and it's not taken as a complete reality unless it comes from a provision in which is not anything other than, it's not an idolization, it's not something far off, it's right in your face. Here, this is what you do. Can I teach you to hit a wiffle ball? Of course I can. If you're committed to it, if you're willing, and in the same way, it's the same thing. But every human has access to it at any given moment. It's just a pain tolerance. It's a crying. We get to the crying stage and do it coherently. And we learn how to communicate. Not to mention going into the aspect of the communication from our perspective, the way that we've been conditioned and conditioned ourselves to get to the impact. It's terrifying in the way that is new. But once it becomes familiar, it's not terrifying anymore. And now I am part of that which is going to be sharing in that way, just as your normal neighborhood freaking Joe that is in a position where I understand to whatever degree the connection between all things. And it's not everybody can do it. So Stephen Hawking, for instance, that is a mind that overtook the body, way ahead of his body, out of balance. If you watch the movie Lucy, why does she go through that aspect of the mind going into a computer? They condensed 2,000 years into a 2-hour movie. and then put her as the character that did the 2,000 years. That's what we're doing in a way that if we do not get back into what some of the channels like Vishar have called spirituality, don't even call it spirituality. It's mind, body, spirit. You have a 3-tiered system in which you have to open the mind to the spirit, which fear is what stops you. And the energetic aspect of the tolerance of pain, because you're afraid of feeling the pain. So instead, we pass the suffering on and on and on. And now we look in a position where it's not that we have to go do all this crazy stuff. I'm going to sell you a thing, but I guarantee you there's not going to be another teacher on the planet, I don't care if they're 1,000 years old, that knows more than I do in regards to what you got to do. All of it's connected. The amalgamation of the human history, it's all put together. And you know what? It's simple. It's the simplest thing it has to be. Think about it. It has to be. It's not hard. It's the other way around. It's from the perspective that is making it hard. And we have to be the ones to choose to do it.
In other words, for a while we've been talking about the 3-step process of creation. And we say, ask is the first step, and contrast helps you to pinpoint that.
What do you mean by contrast? Is it
Variety, difference.